So in this video, I'm going to be doing a trade recap of the trade that I took on Friday, March 4th. I ended up shorting Tesla for the low a day break. I took 10 contracts. I'm working on sizing up, so it's a little bit bigger than my normal position size of 5. And I ended up making $1,150 in 5 minutes, but it definitely was not easy. It was a little choppy. It remained under VWAP, finally broke down, and then that's when I took profits. And now let's take a look at the newsletter watch list. So my game plan coming in today, I was watching Tesla, Nvidia, Alibaba, Facebook, and Boeing. And if you don't already know by now, I do have a private Twitter. This is what I post on there. So this newsletter is my game plan, exactly why I'm watching the stocks, all the levels in play, and then the main 2 levels that I'm looking at, the one to the upside and the downside. To the left, this is the screenshot that I post on my private Twitter. So I make sure to add the charts, green line to the upside being long, red line to the downside being short, and I'll make sure to highlight those levels above. If you're interested in getting access to this, there's going to be a link in the description below. So now let's break down the technicals and why I was looking at each name. So obviously I'm watching Tesla every day because that's my favorite stock to trade. So no matter what, that's going to be number 1. And I said that it had a chance to break out of the 2-day consolidation and it failed and closed weak. Resistance above now, but it clears pre-market high and I felt like it had room to 850, 860 resistance. If it breaks pre-market low with a weak market, felt like it had room to 800 to 790 support. And now Nvidia, so as you can see on the daily chart, which is the chart I'm always looking at first prior to looking at a lower time frame, the last handful of days, it's been consolidating in a tight range. So I felt like if it broke that 231, which is major support, and the market was weak as well, it could probably get hit, have more room to the downside. So there is resistance above now, but if it clears pre-market high, felt like it had some room to 238, 241 resistance. If it breaks pre-market low, has room to 225, 220 support. And now Alibaba, and the reason why I was watching this is because it's a weak daily in what feels like a weaker market. 100 is major support. If it breaks that, could get some selling pressure. There's a lot of resistance above now, but if it clears pre-market high, has room to 102, 104 resistance. If it breaks 100, has room to 95, 90 support. And now Facebook, so similar to Alibaba, weak daily in what feels like a weaker market. 201.50 is major support. If it breaks that, it could get hit. Has a lot of resistance above, but if it clears pre-market high, felt like it had room to 204, 206 resistance. If it breaks pre-market low, has room to 197, 195 support. And now Boeing, so similar with the last 2 stocks, Alibaba and Facebook, it's a weak daily in what feels like a weaker market. Also look at that support on the daily, 186, 185. If it breaks below that, felt like it had a lot of room to the downside. And it had the slight gap down. Now there's a lot of resistance above, but if it clears pre-market high, has room to 190, 192. And if it breaks pre-market low, has room down to 180, 175 support. And then also something I like to add each day is mental notes, just kind of what I'm thinking going into the day. And I said that it's a very back and forth market, need to be patient and let setups really develop. Also, it's Friday, so there's no need to push it. So now let's talk about one thing before I get into the trade recap. So there was an opening range break to the upside on Tesla, and then it clearly failed to break that. The reason why I didn't take that trade is because 1, it came from the lows right back to the high very quickly. I want to see some sort of consolidation before I go long or short, because there can be some head fakes and it can be fake breaks, and that's when it can go against you very aggressively. So in my opinion, I think it just got there a little too quick. It was also within the first 5 minutes of the day. So just letting it do what it has to do, wait till a direction is chosen or there's an aggressive reaction in the other way, and then that's when I want to take a trade. And if you look at SPY, it was showing some weakness off the open, and then also knowing the prior day that a lot of these names showed a lot of weakness, so I have a really hard time chasing into resistance. So my gut told me to just wait, let things look really good, and then when they do, that's when I want to give it a chance. And then once that fake breakout happened, I assume that there's probably other people who are stuck in that because I've been in that situation before. And then when it gets back below VWAP and it's showing weakness, and then I thought if it takes out low a day and it goes red on the day, then maybe it has some more room to the downside. And the reason why I thought that is because just thinking about where the majority are stuck just for the short term. So if a lot of people chase these highs, my stop, that worst case scenario, if I was in a really bad situation, would be low a day. So I think that there would be stops triggered and there'd be some sort of reaction. And that's the reaction that I want to scalp. So now let's get into the actual trade. So Tesla pulled back, had the fake breakout, kind of set the high right around 850, and then has the lows right around 840. So being that there was that fake breakout, if anybody's stuck above VWAP, it got back below VWAP. If it makes a new low of day and people just want to get out of their positions, kind of hits their stop losses, I thought that there was going to be a nice move lower. So it's clearly consolidating under VWAP. Looks like it's going to break low of day. I always want to anticipate that break just a little bit. So I went short right around 840. I ended up taking the 840 puts, 10 of them, working on sizing up a little bit, and I got filled at $10.95. It did bounce a little bit, so this was not an easy trade, a little bit of stress, but it was below VWAP, and also just knowing how nasty that rejection was towards the highs, got back below the 9 EMA, went red, got a nice move lower, and then I ended up taking profits, sold those contracts at $12.10. And after that trade, I was done for the day, a nice one and done Friday, and ended up making $1,150 in 5 minutes, which is awesome. So that was the trade recap. Appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just wanted to highlight a couple cool things I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is going to be what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every day. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a very quick highlight of the SPY, the Qs, the bigger picture, the upside level that I'm looking at, the downside level that I'm looking at, the market news or the catalyst that day. And then I'm going to list 4 to 6 names that I'm watching, my favorites that day, and then the catalyst behind them if there's any news, the bigger picture idea, what's going on the daily chart, and then the levels to the upside and the downside. And then I add some mental notes at the bottom, kind of what I'm thinking that day, make sure to keep my expectations in check and follow my process. And the second thing is going to be a one-on-one call. So if you want something that's less of a commitment and you just want to talk to me about my process and how I approach the market, this is going to be great. It's a one-on-one live call for 1 hour. So if you're interested in any one of these 2 things, there will be links in the description below. Feel free to check them out.